In this lesson, we'll take a look at 2D container fluid. So let's first go to FX tab, or make sure you are in the FX tab, and let's go to fluids. And here you will notice we have 3D container and 2D container. We are going to look first at the 2D container because it's faster, okay, to simulate. So if I click on that, you'll notice I created a square in the viewport, okay, and we have an emitter inside that. So now if I select the box and move it up, as you see the emitter moving with that. If you want to select just the emitter, you can just select that, and you'll notice it's not selected because you need to go to the outliner and select that from the outliner and move it down, okay. And if I come over here and hit play, you'll notice we have a smoke rising, okay, and it's flat because this is 2D container, okay. So the 2D container is useful, for example, if you have an object too far from the camera like this, you can use that, I think, but in other cases it's not useful, okay, it's useless. So if we click play, we can see the smoke rising, right? And if I go back and let's select just the emitter, if I move the emitter outside the box and hit play, nothing will happen, okay, because the emitter is outside the box. Okay, so let's take a look at some attributes, okay, in the fluid shape 1. And the first option is disable evaluation, okay. If you click on that and go back and play, and nothing will happen because this is disabled. This is very useful. Say for example you have multiple containers in the viewport and you are working on one of them, okay, and when you simulate, of course you need to disable all of the containers, evaluation of the other containers, right? And this will make your work faster, okay. So this is the disable evaluation do. Okay, let's turn that off. And here you'll notice we have base resolution, okay. I will explain that just after I go down, and I will change the boundary draw to full, okay, so I can see the voxels. Okay, so let's go back. And the base resolution is, for example, if you increase that, for example, to 80, and now you will have more squares in the container, okay. So every square called voxel, and of course this is 2D, but when we are going to use the 3D container, and you'll notice it's a box, okay. So every box or square called voxel, okay. And of course the more you increase the base resolution, the simulation will take longer to calculate, okay. So you need to be careful about that, okay. And here you'll notice we have keep voxels square, and I don't know why they added that, because if you turn that off, and you notice here we have a resolution for X and Y, and let's say I increase the X to, for example, 20, and you'll notice now the voxels stretched, okay, on X, and this will give us very bad result, okay. So maybe you are wondering why they added that, and the answer is I don't know why they added that, okay. So every time make sure you keep that on, okay. And another thing I want to mention, never scale the container on one axis, for example like this, okay, as you see the voxels stretched, okay. And you need to increase the scale from the center, okay. This is in this way it's okay, okay. So be careful about that. And let's go back and play the simulation, and you'll notice the smoke rising and collides with the edge, okay, on Y. And if you come over the boundary Y and click here and change that to none, for example, and let's hit play and see, and now the smoke will not collide with the boundary, okay, we'll keep going through that. And the interesting part is here, if I come over here and change that to wrapping, and if I hit play, now the smoke rising from up and coming back from down. Really very interesting. You can create cool effects by that, okay. And of course you have here, for example, negative Y side. So now the smoke just will collide with the negative, the bottom of the container, okay. We don't see that. because our smoke is rising up. Okay, and you can set to just Y, so now the fluid or the smoke will collide with the upper edge, as you see. Of course, this works similar to the boundary Y. Okay, so let's set that to both sides, and here you have the use height field, and this will add some depth to the container because the smoke is 2D. So if you check that on, and this will add a little bit of depth. Okay, I don't know, we don't see the result too much here. Okay, and let's go back down, sorry, and we'll take a look at the contents method later. We are going to look at the display. So everything you see here in the display section is not affecting the rendering. Okay, so everything is related to the viewport. Okay, and here you see I have the shaded display. So if you set that to render, and now you can see the smoke, the render of the smoke will be like that. Okay, and if you set that to density, you can see just the density, and here you can see the temperature. Of course, we don't have a temperature or fire, that's why we don't see anything. Okay, we don't see the fuel too. Okay, and the collision too, because we don't have any collision or fire. And if you come to the opacity preview gain, and let's change that to as render, and if you set that to, sorry, to density, and now if you move that, you see I can make the smoke, increase the density of the smoke in the viewport, and again this is not affecting the rendering. Okay, let's leave it that to 0.5, and let's change that to as render, and here you will see we have the voxel quality faster or better. Of course, you can set it to better to make the smoke visible better in the viewport. We don't see the result because we have a 2D container and we have very low resolution. And here you'll notice we have bounding the row, and you can change that to outline. Just you can see the outline of the container, and you can change that to full, see everything, and bounding box. Okay, it's similar to the outline, and none. Of course, this is very useful when you want to create a play blast for your effects. Okay, so let's leave it at outline, and here you'll notice we have numbering display. So if you change that to density, you can see the number or the numbers of the density voxel. Okay, every voxel has a number, and you can change that to temperature. We don't see any numbers because we don't have any fire or temperature now. Okay, and the same for the fuel. Let's turn that off, and here you can see wireframe display. So if you hit 4 on the keyboard, you'll notice we have we can see the fluid or the smoke as particles. Okay, and this is very useful, and you can change that to rectangles. Okay, or turn that off if you want. Nice feature. Okay, and here you see I have the velocity draw. So if I go back and hit 5 on the keyboard to make the shaded mode, and if I click on velocity draw, you can see I can see the velocity in the viewport. Okay, so I can see where my velocity is at this moment, and you can click here to disable the arrowheads. I don't know why someone will disable that. I don't know. Okay, so leave it on. And here we have velocity draw escape. You can decrease the numbers of the velocity, because if you have very high resolution fluid, the lines will be too much, okay, in the viewport. So you can decrease the numbers of the draws. And here you see we have the draw length. You can move it to see it a little bit more clearly. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson.